Great. So now I will call this meeting to order of the Downtown Democratic Club on Monday, November 8th at 6:27. I'm going to bring up our agenda. Did someone have a question? No? Okay. All right, so this is our agenda for today. If you can't see it, let me know and we will fix that. But first, we're gonna go and adopt this agenda. After we do that, we're gonna go straight to our endorsement calendar because our candidates are very busy, as we understand. It is an election season, the beginning of it. So, and then we're gonna go over to our friendly incumbents for both District 4 for Board of Supervisors and City Council. After that, I have added something new to the meeting, which is the vote to charter the club for next year. So the club is due to be recharted, or needs to be recharted with the county party. So we're going to vote to do that. And then we're going to go over some different new committees that we're going to be doing for the club. And then we'll have elected official reports, and then reports from our executive board, treasurer, policy committee, and then we'll do public comments at the end. So thanks for everyone. And do I hear a motion to approve this this agenda as is?
Motion to approve.
Who was that?
Dave.
Oh, great. Unfortunately, I don't think you're a member, but yeah, I'm not too sure that you're a member. So I do need a member to make the motion.
I'll move to approve.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lori. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. Thank you so much, Doug. We have now approved our agenda for today, and we are going to commence with our first business of the day, which I know that's what you guys are all here for today, is our wonderful discussions that we have with our candidates that are usually running for office. So today we're going to be doing the debate / endorsement for the county sheriff of San Diego, where we have a candidate, Dave Myers, as well as Kelly Martinez, who are both deputy sheriffs, former deputy sheriffs. And the way this is going to go, we're going to do an opening for 2 minutes. So each candidate does an opening. They get 2 to 3 minutes. In the opening, I'll be a little flexible, but just make sure that we get it in between 2 to 3 minutes. After that, we're going to begin with the questionnaire. And the way we're going to do the questions is I'm going to moderate the questions, and we're going to have people raise their hand once they want to ask their question live. So you can do it live. It is a strict 1 minute, so no gotcha questions, no, because this, and then ask your question 20 minutes later. I will cut you off if it does hit the 1 minute mark. So just be mindful of that. And after that, we're going to do a closing for 2 minutes each. And then after that, we'll entertain a motion if we want to endorse in this race. It has been placed strategically critical for our club. So what that means is they get special attention. Whoever does get endorsed, whether we endorse or not, that candidate gets special attention. We have voted as a consensus with the club executive board that they will get some type of form of fundraising for their club, as well as access to our members, as well as, of course, volunteer hours that we suggest our members to go and help the candidate out that we want to make sure that gets passed. So there's, before we haven't had this process where there's strict rules and rewards for the candidates, but the board has gotten together and we've been able to successfully put in place some really good inducements, as I would call them, for our candidates to to get involved not only with our club, but to seek support from the downtown area. All right, well, I have done enough talking. I am going to introduce both of our candidates. Let me just spotlight them here. So, and there we go. So I have David Myers, who is here today. And then let me find Kelly Martinez, pin her, add a pin. Perfect. So thank you guys so much for being here today. We really appreciate your attendance, for being here, and having this open discussion, open dialogue that we desperately need in our communities. So without further ado, I'll let you do your introductions. And do we have a preference of who goes first? Because if not, I'll just flip a coin.
Ladies first.
All right.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for including me in your process tonight. I am Kelly Martinez. I'm currently the undersheriff for the Sheriff's Department, and I'm a Democratic candidate for sheriff this year. I have been with the department for over 3 decades and risen through the ranks from deputy sheriff to undersheriff, which is my current position. The undersheriff runs the day-to-day operations of the department. And in that role, I manage a $1 billion budget. I'm the first female to ever be the undersheriff for our department, and I would be the first female sheriff if elected. However, I'm also the most qualified and experienced candidate in this race. As undersheriff, I have the authority to run the day-to-day operations, as I've said. And one of my first acts when I became undersheriff was to increase transparency surrounding jail deaths. We notify the public now within 24 hours of a death in our facilities. We also stopped the sealing of autopsies related to those deaths. We include a lot more information on our website related to the jails. Another priority of mine, which I've already begun, is healthcare in our jails. We are starting a continuum of care model in our jails. We were approved for another 181 healthcare positions by the board this year. So we are actively hiring, recruiting, retaining healthcare staff, including mental health clinicians, which will increase the healthcare in our facilities. Another priority for me is obviously community safety is a huge priority. We have taken over 2,000 guns off the street this year. That's been really crucial as gun violence has increased in all of our communities. I am also working very hard to increase more community-based alternatives to custody in our facility or outside of our facilities. We've opened the first crisis stabilization unit this year. The mobile crisis response teams are rolling out. So there's a lot that's already begun. I'm not waiting to be sheriff to make changes in our department, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
So much. We'll go ahead and go with David.
Thank you. Thank you, Danny. Thanks, everybody. It's great to be here. My name is Dave Myers. Thank you for being here today. I'm running for San Diego County Sheriff because I believe now more than ever, it's time for a change, a renewed focus on demonstrated commitment to rebuilding the community's trust in law enforcement. I want to start out with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but bends towards justice. Today, that arc appears to have split into 2 lines. One line represents the entrenched local law enforcement leadership, and the other line represents the people we serve and protect, especially in communities of color. I've seen in San Diego County, those 2 lines are arcing away from each other, and it's at an increasing rate. The lines continue to arc away, incident by incident, video by video. We currently have a Republican sheriff and an undersheriff who cling to outdated law enforcement practices and refuse to acknowledge and address the issues raised by impacted communities. We must speak truth about the shortcomings as law enforcement and fight to be better. I'm prepared to put my 35 years of law enforcement and community service experience to work, starting with bringing badly needed changes to outdated policing practices, rebuilding the trust between law enforcement and all communities in San Diego County, and conducting a complete policy practice and expectation review with an emphasis on equity. Let's implement restorative justice approach to juvenile offenders to interrupt the school to prison pipeline. I want to meet standards for women's health and disease prevention in jails, including banning the practice of shackling pregnant female inmates to their beds while they're delivering their babies. I want to implement Take It to Zero. I don't want to issue press releases in 24 hours notifying of deaths in the jails. I want to end deaths in the jails. I want to work with the cannabis industry to develop equity-based common sense policies and procedures that ensure public safety. I'm running for San Diego County Sheriff because I believe law enforcement must re-engage in a real and meaningful way with all residents, including our underserved communities and communities of color. We must listen to community members and service providers. I believe that we must prioritize initiatives by addressing recidivism in sustainable ways, enrolling inmates in apprenticeship programs under the sponsorship of local unions, so they can develop skills to re-engage in our communities. Work with community service providers to provide long-term solutions to homeless rather than relying on incarceration and displacement. That includes advocating for funding to support evidence-based mobile crisis response teams. Prioritize drug treatment over incarceration. Treat addiction as an illness and not a crime. Recruiting, hiring, and promoting qualified people reflective of the diversity of our communities. I want to establish a culture of integrity and accountability within the Sheriff's Department. Today, I'm asking you for your support in moving these two diverging lines back together. First, by ending the sheriff's leadership status quo. We are at our best when we travel this road together towards safety and justice for all. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you both for introductions. And I didn't do so much timing there. So, if you felt that we were unfair on the timing, just let us know. I'm happy to accommodate any fairness efforts to increase fairness here. All right, well, then we're going to move over to our questions, Q&As. And I'm going to go ahead and kick that off with our first question. And then, yeah, feel free, if you guys have any questions, start raising your hands. That way you can get in line to ask the questions of the candidates. But, first, I think what's most pressing on our minds is this new poll that was released by the San Diego Sheriff Association, kind of stating about the different cultures that we have in the sheriff department. Would you guys address the poll as it relates to the race and how you see that, or how you interpret this data to your benefit? And we'll go ahead and switch over. So I think Kelly started first. We'll start with David.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. So I had a local reporter share it with me and asked for a comment. I provided a comment. I think what's extremely disturbing is that it's 32 pages, and it's a vast majority of the responses are homophobic, they're racist, they're supportive of white nationalism, white supremacy. They're about anti-vaccine, anti-democratic. I think they're pretty indicative of the vaccine rate of the Sheriff's Department currently, which has been reported in the newspaper as 23%. The comments do lash out at the lack of leadership within the Sheriff's Department, understaffing, extremely low morale, mismanagement. One of the comments that I found pretty interesting, and I'll quote here, is it talks about integrity. If you change your political affiliation prior to an election, so you have county supervisors endorse you, you've lost me. I don't care how long you've been a deputy. I don't trust you. I want someone who stands by their convictions, not a pandering politician. I think the 32 pages of comments are reflective of why I'm running, which is to fight against the lack of leadership that has led to the formation of these comments in a law enforcement agency where I spent over 3 decades, which I was very proud to be there. And, we may disagree on some political stuff within an agency, but these comments are just unacceptable. And indicative of the culture which was created by the current leadership. And that's what has to change. That's why I'm running.
Okay,
I
great.
would say I disagree with that assessment. This survey was also shared with me. I didn't participate in the survey. A number of the people I've talked to at work never received the survey, even though they are members of the association. It represents about 5%. The respondents represent about 5% of our entire workforce. It's anonymous. It's very difficult to ascertain who answered the questions, how long they've been on, where they're working. And so I just really don't think it's scientific or really represents our department as a whole. There were some comments that I was very disappointed by. I think anyone would agree that being a leader in law enforcement right now is very different than it would have been 2 or 3 years ago. We're traversing and navigating a workforce that are deciding whether they want to continue participating in this work. And so we will see what that looks like for us in the next couple of months, how many people leave. We have done a good job with managing COVID in our workforce, but we can do better. And we will be implementing the same policies. We already have the same policies that the state and the county have related to vaccine mandates and vaccine requirements. I just think that the survey is disappointing with some of the responses, but it's very difficult to really assess the meaning of a survey that's anonymous and represents such a small part of our organization.
Great, just under time there. So you guys are doing great. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over to our audience. So I have one of our members, Doug Case, who has a question. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Doug, and ask your question. You have 1 minute starting now.
Okay, as you know, the Board of Supervisors has a proposal before it, which would expand the authority of CLRB, the county's law enforcement oversight agency. And included in that is the ability to for CLRB to be able to have oversight not only of the sheriff staff, but also the sworn personnel, but also the medical personnel in the jails. And so my question is, do you support the proposed changes to CLRB? And what is your philosophy, generally speaking, with regard to a civilian oversight of law enforcement?
Sure. Did you want me to start with that, Dan?
Yes, Kelly, we'll bounce back and forth. So yeah, you go first.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Doug. I absolutely support an civilian oversight board. I like the fact that we have a civilian oversight board right now. I've personally been working with them on different things. I support the recommendations, particularly with oversight with the medical staff, the county health workers that work in our facilities. I think, I don't know why that wasn't the case before. We are working with them right now on the other recommendations. They had a policy recommendation related to being allowed access to death scenes when they occur. So we're working through that with them. But yes, I do agree with the oversight board, and I do like their recommendations and support their recommendations regarding the healthcare workers and looking at how we can facilitate them being either at the death scenes or having information much sooner than they've got it now.
Thanks, Doug, for the question. As you know, I actually dialed into the CLRB meeting where they were discussing those and was in complete support and spoke in favor of, especially investigators from CLRB appearing at death scenes. It's interesting that, and we heard the undersheriff talk about running day-to-day operations in the sheriff's department. She could have changed these policies years ago, chose not to. It took an outside community members, it took an independent oversight board and years to push for this, to push for additional oversight, to push for additional investigative powers within our county oversight board to look into, if we're just talking about jail deaths, the importance of understanding the medical processes that go into what was or was not provided. The undersheriff could have changed those policies with a recommendation to CLRB, but instead had to wait. we don't need that type of leadership. I'm completely in favor of community oversight. We've got nothing to hide, in my opinion.
Did you want to rebuttal, Kelly, or did you? You're muted. You're muted, Ms. Martinez. You're still muted.
Oh,
There we
sorry
go.
about that. Yeah, I just wanted to correct the record. I didn't have the authority to change the oversight authority of the clerk board. That's something that has to go before county council with the change or, county authority has to be changed. His rank of commander, he would have had no more authority to do that than I had in my previous rank. So it's just incorrect to make that statement. Thank you.
And just so that the audience knows, if at any point the candidates want to rebuttal quickly, of course, to any of the statements that were made, just raise your hand and we'll unmute you to do the rebuttal. So we'll go to the next question. And do I have any other members that are? I do not. And just for those that are just joining us here today, if you don't have a name, I can't identify you as a member. So just make sure to write your name down in your box. So I see another member, Lori Saldana, and then we'll go over to non-members. So Ms. Saldana?
Thank you. Yes. Thanks to both candidates for being here tonight. My first experience with the clerk board was regarding the lack of intervention when the Proud Boys showed up at an event that I had been asked to speak at and began harassing and intimidating attendees. And that led to a meeting with Sheriff Gore and asked him why white supremacists in San Diego are not treated the way Latino and Black gangs are often treated, with an enhanced presence of law enforcement officers. And so I won't recount Sheriff Gore's explanation, but I'm curious, how would you address the growing issues with often violent white supremacist gangs in San Diego County acting out against various groups that they disagree with?
Thanks, Lori. Yeah, that's a great observation. And as you know, I've been speaking out a lot lately about white supremacist, white nationalist movement. We saw it play out very, very graphically on January 6th at the US Capitol, when a lot of folks from San Diego were there. And I do agree with the federal authorities that they are domestic terrorists and they need to be addressed by law enforcement as such. My attention and enforcement towards white supremacist, white national movement goes back way to Tom Metzger when he used to live in this county, the leader of the KKK in Fallbrook, and played a small role in enforcing and getting him addressed by law enforcement and eventually by the Southern Poverty Law Center. It is a national threat. It is a local threat, and we need to take it seriously within law enforcement and do everything we can to address it as such. And they need to be addressed within the California gang system and the laws that are applicable to gangs, just like any other street gang that preys upon the community.
Thanks for your question as well. I would say that the white supremacist gangs have been people with criminal intent and intent to overthrow the government have been on my radar for years. I worked Fallbrook Patrol when Tom Metzger lived there, and then later moved on to our intelligence detail, where I not only worked investigating those groups, but actually in undercover capacity saw cross burnings. I know how dangerous those groups are. We do document them as in the same way that we would document other gangs and work them when we identify the same criminal behavior of any gang. I mean, if they qualify under that criteria, we monitor them in the same way. So I support what you're saying. I think they are absolutely dangerous and have seen it up close and personal in my career. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Aldana, for your question. And then we'll move over to our next guest, who is Mustafa, one of our good friends. Hey, Mustafa, your question, you got 1 minute starting now.
Okay, it'll be a short question. Can you tell me who you supported for president and voted for president in 2020 election?
I actually didn't vote for president in the 2020 election.
I can tell you it was everybody but Donald Trump.
Nice. All right, that was pretty quick. So I think we can go over to another guest, Madge Torres. You have a question? Your minute starts now. Oh, Madge, you can unmute yourself if you'd like.
Hi.
There you go.
What I'd like to know is, when will you release the racial profile study that the agency, the Sheriff's Department, contracted with from the Center for Policy Equity?
I think I'm the only one that can answer that. We don't actually have that study. The Center for Policing Equity has that study, not us. So we have been discussing that study with them recently. I think it will likely be towards the end of the year or so, fairly soon. It took a lot longer than we anticipated for them to complete their study. It was a very long and laborious process. So it's not something that we've been holding back at all. It's something that they've been working on and are just, I think, very recently believe that they can release it. So
Thank you for your response.
thank you.
David?
Yeah, if I had access to the study, and I would hope that the undersheriff would also release any drafts that come in, because in my experience, when we, as law enforcement, hire outside consultants, there is usually a couple back and forth between the outside consultant and the agency, and there's draft reports that come in back and forth, that the agency would also provide copies of any drafts back and forth and communications that take place for such an important topic.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you guys. You guys are doing great on time. So, all right. Well, we still got some good time to go. So I'm going to continue with the questions. Marilyn Riley, you have 1 minute starting now.
Thank you. I'd like to hear from Ms. Martinez exactly what her thought process was in becoming a Democrat a couple days after the November 2020 election, when she had apparently been a Republican for years and years and years. Why that seemingly sudden change? Why did you stay a Republican for so long, even during Trump's misadministration? And why did you suddenly decide to become a Democrat?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that question. You know, the only thing I can say about my being a Republican is that that's how I grew up. That's what my family was. That's how you registered. I never gave a thought to my political affiliation throughout the years. I've never participated in the political process. 2 days after the election last year, I was watching the news when armed men were outside of the registrar of voters in Arizona. I think it was Phoenix. I can't remember the town, but it was just so appalling to me that I immediately changed my party affiliation, and I haven't looked back. I wish I would have done it sooner, but I just haven't been that politically aware in my life. It's just not something I've done. As a law enforcement officer, we are nonpartisan, unbiased in the political viewpoints. We serve everyone equally. And that's just where I am. And I think the sheriff is the same way. It's a nonpartisan office.
So since that was directed at Ms. Martinez, is there another question that you wanted directed at Dave?
Danny, I have a few observations, if
Oh,
I,
okay.
if I may.
Sure.
Yeah. So, in full disclosure, I was a Republican up until about 2013, 2014. And I truly was not involved in politics up to that point. Prior to my re-registering as a Democrat, and the reason I did was because I couldn't belong to a party that would deny me the right to marry who I loved, and was very active in anti-gay legislation. And I had never been involved in Republican politics. I'd never given any money to Republicans. And it's a little disingenuous for the undersheriff to say she was not involved in politics prior to that point, when her donation record to only Republican candidates prior to her re-registration is pretty complete, with lots of political involvement. So let's just make sure the record is complete and factual.
I would just say that I've, to my knowledge, only given money to one candidate, and that was Bill Gore, because he was my sheriff, and I thought that was who I should support.
Wonderful. Thank you for answering the questions. Do we have other questions? I noticed that we've ran out of hands. We do have time for maybe another question. So go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question. Well, you know what? Since we don't have any hands right now, I will be asking a quick question because the club did take action regarding the our resolution that we built out to support more public funding of public restrooms, which directly relates to public health. And in your jurisdiction as sheriff, public health can be a lot. There's my own timer, but it can be very important, especially within the county jails. So can you discuss about public health in county jails and how that relates to clean and safe environments for our residents?
I think Kelly went first last time, so I'll go ahead. So I think when it comes to public restrooms, absolutely 100%. I mean, we've seen here in San Diego County hepatitis A outbreak. It was interesting that the grand jury in San Diego County at one point told the sheriff that they need to vaccinate inmates against hepatitis A in the jail, and the sheriff's response back was, "No, I'm not going to do it." We're seeing the same type of response when it comes to COVID, and in my opinion, mismanagement within the COVID protocols within the jail system. We've seen 2 deputy sheriffs die of COVID recently. We don't see an effort to really push for vaccinations, incentivize vaccinations for inmates that are in custody, let alone staff. And back outside the jail, within the communities, I think the sheriff has a role to play in the sanitation of the community. Folks call law enforcement about individuals in the community that are relieving themselves on street corners or in parks. And as a community, I think we all need to come together and ensure that we do something about that there are public restrooms, that people can wash their hands, and we stop some of the outbreaks that we're seeing that can be stopped and mitigated in our communities.
So I would say, as far as healthcare in the jails, since the beginning of the COVID outbreak, we've been very aggressive in offering the vaccination to all of the individuals who come into our custody. About 1/3 of those individuals take us up on that offer. We can't force medication on people, so we are not able to force the vaccinations. We do 7-day quarantining when people come into our custody. We test. We also offer the test and the vaccination multiple times while people are in our custody. We have a requirement in the jail that everyone who works in the healthcare settings in our jail is vaccinated. All of our civilian staff are vaccinated in the jail. Deputies and healthcare staff, everyone is masked at all times when they're working in the facilities for the 24 hours they are there, or 12-hour shifts that they're there, wearing the N95 masks. So we have a very robust process for the vaccination and quarantining. We keep everyone in cohorts. They go to court in cohorts. If there is someone who comes down positive with COVID, we do the contact tracing. We have managed we've had each of our outbreaks managed very well with the individuals who are in our custody. We've actually had to stop death penalty cases in courts because we have an outbreak and we refuse to infect people with COVID or potentially expose them to COVID. So the processes and the healthcare that we provide individuals in custody is very important as they get released back into the communities. As far as homeless outreach, in 2018, I created the Homeless Assistance Resource Team. That's a team of 8 deputies and a sergeant that work collaboratively with non-government organizations and our Health and Human Services and behavioral health, and they go out and they contact homeless individuals in our communities. We provide vaccinations to those individuals as well as other vaccinations and other healthcare support. So we're doing a lot to keep our communities safe and the health care in our communities safe as well as in our jails. So thank you for the question.
Perfect.
And Danny, for a point of clarification, currently the Sheriff's Department, Sheriff's leadership had to be sued by the ACLU and community-based organizations because of the lack of care for COVID individuals, for exposure to COVID in custody settings that is ongoing. And it's unfortunate that the community groups and the ACLU had to step in to provide that medical oversight for COVID exposures in custody settings.
And to clarify, that's not exactly what the lawsuit is about, but they would like us to vaccinate everyone in custody. We don't have the authority to do that without a court order. So we do offer it multiple times to everyone in our custody. We've offered it over 10,000 times with about 3,000 individuals taking us up on the vaccination.
Great. Thank you for answering that question. Appreciate it. And then I'm going to go to our next person. I see Lori has already went. So I'm going to go to the next person, and to be fair, which I have right here is Kyle Bellinger. Or I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Did I get that right?
It's Kylie Bellinger.
Kylie Bellinger. Wonderful to meet you. Your minute starts now.
So in this question, I'm referencing a fentanyl video released in August. To both candidates, do you think that releasing that video was appropriate use of county funds? And are sheriffs still being trained to, well, I guess, be as scared of and react to fentanyl as they did in the video? Is that training still happening?
I think that's probably more directed to me. The intent of releasing that video was to highlight the dangers of fentanyl. We really believed it was a fentanyl exposure that caused our deputy to fall the way that he did. Deputies are not being trained to be afraid of fentanyl or fentanyl exposure. We have PPE that we provide as well as training. We have been having more discussions with medical care, healthcare workers. We think that was a missing piece, and we've rectified that. We're talking to doctors. So,
thank you, Kylie. It's a very good question. Fentanyl is killing community members at a record high rate because they're actually ingesting it. I think the video that was displayed by sheriff's leadership and pushed by sheriff's leadership, we still don't know why. They never evaluated with medical experts fentanyl contact exposure. And it's unfortunate that it created a hysteria around fentanyl exposure, which could, deter first responders from providing first aid to those that overdose with fentanyl. The video was irresponsible. It put the deputies in harm's way, who I think did everything right. And as part of the Voice of San Diego Sheriff's debate, it's interesting that the undersheriff here did not disavow, as they reported, the video itself and the contents in the video, and the video is still up on the sheriff's YouTube site.
Well, we're doing good with time, so I'm going to take one more question. Is that okay with both of you?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So the next person I have who has not already went is, I believe, Dominic Ewan.
Yes,
Your
Good
minute
evening.
starts
Yes.
now.
very good. Good evening, everybody. I'm a great believer in diversity in the workforce, and I believe that our police force should reflect the communities in terms of makeup that they serve and protect. So my question is, how many AAPI, which are Asian American Pacific Islander captains and command staff, are there currently at the Sheriff's Department? And also, how many African American females are in positions of leadership at the captain and above level?
Twice. All right. Zanetta, would you like?
I'm guessing that question's for me. Thanks, Dominic.
Yes,
We have one AAPI commander over our Detention Services Bureau currently. We don't
Sorry.
have any.
Sorry, let me just mute this person, whoever's. If you're, let's
Mustafa,
see.
mute yourself.
There we go. Thank you very much. Continue.
Yes, so I was saying we have one AAPI commander over our Detention Services Bureau currently. We don't have any African-American women in the captain rank or above, but we have a number of very promising women that I'm very excited to continue to mentor and bring up into our organization, into other leadership roles. And not just those two groups. We have a lot of people from all different, very diverse group of individuals in our department that I'm excited to continue to build up and bring into higher ranks as we move forward.
For me, diversity matters. Diversity should be reflective of the communities with police. Sheriff's Department is roughly 4,600 members of the community. In the latest census for San Diego County shows a growing population of Hispanic API community members, the fastest growing two groups, and it's not reflective of the Sheriff's Office. One of my priorities would be to absolutely recruit, retain, and especially within an agency where we ask them to go out and work in these diverse communities, that they should be reflective of the community, especially in leadership roles.
Wonderful. Thank you for asking that question. And since we're still good on time, I'm going to take one more question and then we're going to end it there. And then we'll entertain a motion to endorse in this race. So Lisa Vincent has not gone, so I will let her go. Go ahead and unmute, Lisa, and your minute starts now.
Hi, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for allowing me to speak, especially since I'm not a member. My name is Lisa Vincent, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am president of Showing Up for Racial Justice North County. And I'd like to ask both of you, if elected sheriff, what steps would you take to ensure that deputies and members of law enforcement do not belong to or are not involved with hate groups? Thank you.
I think it's Dave's turn to start.
Yeah, I believe so too. Dave, if you want to start.
Okay. No, I couldn't hear anybody. Yeah, no problem. No, it's not only should it start with recruiting and retaining, but we should, the Sheriff's Department should absolutely do an internal investigation. And I think what was mentioned earlier by Danny when he brought up the survey done by members of the association, by law enforcement deputy sheriffs who made racist, homophobic. They made statements supporting an Oath Keeper sheriff in the North County. So I don't think we have to look far for individuals that I think don't represent the values and the integrity to wear the badge of the San Diego Sheriff's Department. And not only should we, as sheriff, I would do an internal investigation as to who those individuals are and ensure that we weed them out, but especially at the hiring process. And then also as we go on, And I think that truly, truly starts with the leadership of the organization. And when you have a lack of leadership, I think it's reflective in what that survey produced, which is very, very unfortunate.
Well, I would disagree about a lack of leadership. I think we have very strong leadership on the department, not only myself, but a lot of other people that are coming up through the ranks and people who are currently in leadership roles. But I will say that we have policies in place that protect us against some of those things. We do continually, we do monitor, we do have a lot of different revenues for people to file complaints, to notify us of individuals they think are using bias or other hate-filled words or anything in their actions that would reflect anything that would be detrimental in that way. We actively look at and investigate any of those complaints. We also are very careful in our hiring. We have almost an 8-month background process at this point that involves everything from a psychologist interviewing people to different ways to identify if they're lying. We do a very thorough background checks, references, anything in someone's background that would indicate that type of a personality would preclude them from being hired. So I think we have a lot of mechanisms in place. As Dave referenced that survey from the DSA. Again, that was anonymous. It's I don't know how we would identify who made those statements or how we would go and talk to them or interview them about those statements. I would hope that anyone on our department would follow our intervention policy and notify us if someone is doing something they shouldn't be doing. So it's not perfect. As I said before, it's a very difficult time to be a leader in law enforcement. I think moving forward, it's going to take someone with strength and integrity, which I have, someone who is willing to listen to the public in our communities, as well as gauge what's going on in the workplace. So thank you very much for your question.
Danny, if I can follow up real quick to Lisa's point, the background checks and the processes that the undersheriff spoke about are the same processes and the same hiring practice that have allowed Deputy Richard Flecher to get hired and sexually molest 20 women while on duty. Deputy Yamamoto, who's just sentenced to 80 years in prison for sexually assaulting. Deputy Wilson, who was sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl. Those are the same processes that I want to change. We cannot sit back and do the same old thing year after year and expect differences. We must change.
So I would ask what you would change. What would you do different?
Danny, are we good?
If you guys are okay with it, yeah.
Yeah. No, what we must change is the hiring practices, how we do background checks. Who does the background checks? How extensive are they going to be? Not only background checks, but when we get them in the door, what kind of checks do we do? We don't do anything.
I disagree with that. I would say that right now, it's not the robust hiring and retention that you may remember from years past with law enforcement. It's a difficult time. It's not saying we're letting people in the door that shouldn't be there, but I would welcome you to come and take a look how things have changed in the years since you left. I think that you're making assumptions that are not accurate.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and end it there. I really appreciate you guys, doing the back and forth and being willing to do that. I think seeing that allows our members to really get some context for what your positions are and how you feel about certain things. So great. I'm going to move over to closing statements. So you have 2 minutes that will be timed. So keep it short. But since I forget who was last, Kelly started, right? Am I correct? Okay, so we'll end with David then, starting first. Go ahead with your closing statement.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. As Democrats, we hold dear the core principles of equality, compassion, and transparency from our elected officials. I'm running for San Diego Sheriff to bring these principles back into the criminal justice system and to a sheriff's department that has shown a callous disregard for the needs of the community, whether it is in the record number of jail deaths. There was another one a couple weeks ago, the refusal to even acknowledge the possibility of bias in policing, sexual assault kits that are still not being tested. Again, I go back to the recently published information about the sheriff's culture. It provides some context and insights as to why both the Republican sheriff and his handpicked undersheriff have refused to make the changes or even given lip service to changes that we know are needed now more than ever. On September 28th, there was a shooting in Vista by a deputy. We still have not seen the video being released. That same day, San Diego police officers were involved in a shooting. That video and Escondido Police's video have both been released. There's a time for a change. The status quo must end. My name is Dave Myers and I'm running for sheriff, and I'd really appreciate your support today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move over to Kelly Martinez.
Thank you, everyone, for having me here tonight and allowing me to speak with you and to answer your questions. It's more important than ever that we have law enforcement leaders that are trusted, that have vision, and that have the ability to affect change. I'm that person. I'm the most experienced and qualified candidate in this race. I have experience in managing change and making effective changes on the department that will be lasting, that will improve the quality of policing in San Diego County. We currently have some of the lowest crime rates in the county. We have a jail system that we are changing. We have a healthcare system that we are adding additional staff to, that we are going to a continuum of care. We are starting the medically assisted treatment program throughout our facilities. We are increasing opportunities for inmates in our custody as far as re-entry. The women in our sewing program are sewing the costumes for the Old Globe Theater as an example. We had the Old Globe provide them a performance last week. We had have a leadership training program for the women at Las Colinas as another example. They graduated on Saturday. They are doing a lived experience program where they are helping other individuals in our custody overcome challenges. We have a number of programs in our reentry services for men. We will be implementing a continuum of care model where we have more connectivity to someone's healthcare, their medical health records from before they come into our custody. We will have a better primary care model as they travel through our custody and then release them to more resources when they are released. We are identifying through data and evidence-based approaches what types of community-based alternatives to custody we can provide in the county. I'm excited about the crisis stabilization unit, which allows for walk-in service for community members for their psychological and healthcare needs and their substance use disorder needs, so that they no longer have to have law enforcement contact. There are so many opportunities. There's so much more to be done. I'm excited to be here to do it and to begin it before we are elected for sheriff. Thank you very much.
Also on the rise, and this comes as National City Police.
I apologize that someone has unmuted. Please make sure that you are being respectful of the candidate's time and make sure that you're muted. Oh, and there goes your time. Perfect. I appreciate you both for being here today. It really takes courage and leadership to be able to run in any position. And so I commend you both for having the courage to run and being a leader in our community. And again, thank you so much for honoring with your presence today. Both of you guys, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do next, oh, of course. And what we're going to do next is I'm going to remove you guys from the room. And then I'm going to entertain a motion to endorse. So if we don't have rules about candidate staff, so I'm going to let the staff remain, but I'm going to take out the candidates and put them into a waiting room. So just give me a second. And if David, if you need to leave for any reason, just give me a text, or Ms. Martinez, if you need to leave for any reason, just give me a text as well. Great, thank you very much. Now let me just put you guys in a room. There we are. All right. So that we did that. We got through it. I think we had some excellent questions. Yes. So our first debate of the season, of the 2022 election season. So I'm glad you guys were able to be here with us today. Lori, did you have a question?
Well, in order to discuss this, do we need a motion for an endorsement?
Yes, we do.
If we're at that point of the discussion, I'd like to move an endorsement for Dave Myers for sheriff.
All right, so the way I formulated the questionnaire, that has all 3 candidates on it. So it's not that formulated, but would it be proper to allow this type of, okay, so the point of it is we can do that. I would have to say that let's vote on all 3 candidates. If we can do that, if you could amend your motion to do that, if you're willing to do that, we can do that, just because we have a secret ballot and we can't vote by hands.
I just wanted to allow for the discussion. I thought we needed a motion
Sure.
on an endorsement in some format in order to
Yes.
have a discussion of the endorsement.
Wonderful. Do I have a second by any of the club members?
Is that a motion to consider an endorsement?
I'm willing to
Exactly.
amend to consider an endorsement versus a specific endorsement. Yes.
Okay, then I would second that.
Wonderful, wonderful. I appreciate both of you guys for amending it to adhere to our the way we've structured it. So thank you for that. So I'll allow for discussion. So what I'll do is I'll do 3 for each candidate in support, not against, and then we'll do 3 for non-endorsement as well. So if anyone has any discussion on either candidate, please feel free to raise your hand now. And the first one I see up is Doug Case. And who will you be speaking for?
I'll be speaking for Kelly Martinez.
Wonderful. And your minute starts now.
Okay, I just recently had the opportunity a few months ago of meeting her when my boss, Senate President Pro Tem, Tony Atkins, met with her. I found her to be very thoughtful and professional. I'm on the commission for police practices for the city, and so I asked a lot of pointed questions, and I was pleased with her answers. As she indicated, she's not a political person. She's a law enforcement professional and not a politician. But I think it's important to note that all 3 progressive Democrats who serve on the County Board of Supervisors, who know what we need in the sheriff and what we need in a progressive sheriff in the County of San Diego, have endorsed Kelly, as have numerous other elected officials. And so like I said, I found her to be very professional, understanding of the needs of law enforcement, and very supportive of accountability, which is an important issue to me. So I would encourage people to support Kelly.
Great, thank you so much. Perfect timing. And then I see I have Lori Saldana, and will you be speaking, who will you be speaking for today?
I'd like to speak in support of endorsing Dave Myers for sheriff.
Wonderful. Let me get the timer started and you can go ahead and start.
Thank you. So as you probably noted from my question, I've been tracking the response of the sheriff's office on white supremacism and other issues in San Diego for quite a few years. And also pushing out of frustration for the audit taking place now of deaths in custody that have been the highest in the state of California under the current leadership. And that includes Ms. Martinez. I think if we really want, as progressive Democrats, those of us who identify as progressives, to make a change in law enforcement in San Diego County, we need a real change. We don't want someone who is until recently identified as a Republican and has identified very closely with the current leadership in the sheriff's office, when we have seen record high deaths, when we have seen these other problems that were discussed during the debate. And most importantly, we just passed a platform that is limiting police money in candidates and campaigns. And sadly, the supervisors have been taking deputy sheriff money.
5 seconds.
So I think we need to get policing out of our campaigns, and let's do a clean sweep with a new candidate, Dave Myers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Do I have any speakers that are members that are speaking for no endorsement in this race? Going once? Going twice? All right. Then we'll go for the candidates again. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of the candidates? Either or? If not, can I yield the chair to Jan? Will you take over for me really quick?
Okay.
Thank you very much. If you could chair the meeting really quick, I want to step down as the president, and if you can step up to chair the meeting, I will be a participant and a member to speak.
I'm not quite sure if I know how, if I can do that.
You're good. You just gotta moderate real quick while I raise my hand really quick.
Okay.
So I'm stepping down as president and I'm speaking as a member.
Okay.
I'm going to
Okay.
raise my
Right.
hand.
Okay.
So
And go ahead.
So those of you that know me know that I am extremely progressive, and a lot of what I do is surrounded by criminal justice. I have to say, by the debate today that we've put together with the board that's put together, I think we did really well, but I am going to speak in favor of Dave Myers. I've known David for just a little bit now, for over 2 years, and I've known him to be a person with integrity. I've known him to be a strong supporter of criminal justice reform. And I've known him to be someone who knows the issues of our community, who has displayed excellent leadership in being able to identify problems internally with the sheriff's department. So I would say, please vote for Dave Myers, those of you that are members, and I will sit back down. And if you want to call the next speakers, you can, Jan.
Who's speaking?
Are there any other speakers for other candidates for Kelly Martinez? Going once? Oh, there we go. Tracy, go ahead.
I would like to say that
I apologize. All right, Tracy, are you a member?
I'm not.
Okay, unfortunately, we can only have members speak during this time.
Understand.
I apologize. So, all right, so then I'm gonna wrap up discussion there and take over. So Jan, appreciate you for stepping up real quick. So I've sent out, I'm literally sending out everyone a link in their email. All members will be receiving the link in their email. Just now I've sent it. It is a Google form. So please go to your email now. I will give you guys some minutes to go to your email and go to the San Diego Downtown Democratic Club email that was just sent to all the members who are eligible to vote, and you can please vote. If you need help finding it, let me know now.
I didn't receive it, Danny.
Okay, let me. Oh. Okay, I just sent it to you. Let me know if you receive it. Tracy, you had a question still, or did you just forget to lower your hand? There we go. All right. So all those who wish to vote, please vote.
Okay, give me a second here. I just got it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you guys plenty of time. Don't worry. Yes.
Danny, I'm sorry, were you emailing us the ballots?
Yes, you each got an email with a ballot, because it does have to be secret ballot. I have sent it to your email because I couldn't enter it into the chat here because we have a lot of guests.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mhm. Let me know if you have not received it, please. Jan, have you received it?
Yes, I have.
Okay. I'm actually just
And-
going to go through the members. That way.
And I voted already. Okay.
Perfect. Susie, have you voted? Susie Ditmars? Susie Ditmar, have you voted? Susie? Okay, I'm gonna move over to the next person. David Priver, have you voted?
Yes, I have.
Perfect, thank you very much. Uh-oh, I don't know how these candidates got back in. Must have let them in on accident. Okay. Lori Saldana, have you voted?
Yes. Oh, let me lower my hand. Yes, I submitted a vote.
Perfect. Mig Kent Lee, have you voted?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you very much. Mig Barbara Dunning, have you voted?
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Andrea and Gary, have you voted?
Yes.
Wonderful. And you've submitted both of your votes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Let me see, is there anyone that have called on? Mar Meza, have you voted? Perfect, thank you very much. Michelle Mitchell, I'm sorry if I pronounce your last name, I'm not gonna even try it because then I will completely butcher it. Michelle, have you voted?
Yeah, that's Mitch Malakowski, and I have.
Mitchell, I apologize. This is the first time member who's voting, so I apologize. We're doing this all over Zoom when we usually do this in person. So appreciate your patience with my understanding of everyone's names. Okay, I think that's everyone. So I'm going to, has anyone not had a chance to vote? Please raise your hand now or forever hold your peace. Great. All right, so I'm going to check the results and then we're going to announce it really quick. The threshold is that you have to reach 60% or more. So, oh, and it looks like we have received a 60% threshold where we have 63.6 for David Myers, who has now won the endorsement of the club, where 18.2 was for Kelly Martinez, 9.1 was for no endorsement, and we also had one person who abstained. So, and let me just make sure that that's the amount of people that we have here so that I can ratify this vote. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. All right. Well, then we can bring on the candidates. And now we have endorsed David Myers to be our next sheriff of San Diego. So let me bring them in here. All right. So let me pin you guys up here real quick, our candidates, so we can read you the results. Where's Kelly? There we are. Pin, perfect. All right, so the results are in and we've had a long discussion, and let me give you the numbers. So with 63.6%, we have Dave Myers, who has received the endorsement of the club. With 18.2% was Kelly Martinez, and for no endorsement, we've had 9.1 9.1, and for abstentions, we had 9.1. So we had one person vote for each of the no endorsement and abstained. So with that said, the results are final, and we have now an endorsed candidate, David Myers.
Thank you. Thank you, Danny. Thank you to the club members. Thank you to the undersheriff for being here today and engaging in this conversation about such an important topic going forward. That's what law enforcement should look like in this county going forward. Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate everyone's opportunity and the chance to meet you all. So thank you.
Wonderful to meet you both, and we encourage the continued dialogue during this race. So again, thank you for honoring us with your presence today, and we look forward to seeing you guys during the holidays and the election season. Appreciate you guys, and David will be in touch with all our endorsement goodies coming later.
Great. And thanks, everybody. I do have to run to another meeting real
This is
quick.
Judy Walters, thanking you for a great job.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and move over to the next item of our agenda. We're going to move relatively quickly here because we only got about 30 minutes. So thanks for everyone who is patient with that process. The next consideration is going to be for a friendly incumbent recommendation from the board is Monica Montgomery Step. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to vote by acclamation because I don't think these are very controversial. Does anyone oppose voting to endorse with friendly? Sorry, that's a tongue twister. The friendly incumbent endorsement for Monica Montgomery. Does anyone oppose this? Okay, with going once? Going twice? 3 times? We have now endorsed Monica Montgomery for her next term in office. And we will let her know after this meeting. Our next item under the agenda is going to be the next consideration for friendly incumbent recommendation by the board is for Nathen Flecher in District 4. So I also think that this one's not very controversial. So does anyone oppose this recommendation? Wonderful. Lori, do you actually? The way I'm going to do this is, since it's already a recommendation, we're just going to have a discussion. So, Lori, go ahead.
Yes, the county party recently approved a new party platform. It's a statement of our values as Democrats in San Diego. And a few of those items included the sources of campaign money. We voted to oppose fossil fuel money for campaigns, and we voted to support public restrooms and in public places. And we also voted to oppose law enforcement union money in campaigns. And Nathen Flecher has accepted that money in the past from the deputy sheriffs. And while he did so before the platform was approved, I think that it's, it does go against what we have now added to our platform. And I would at least like to have him discuss if he will agree to stop taking money from that source. So for that reason, rather than just do a friendly incumbent endorsement, I think it's time to have a discussion with someone who has taken money from the deputy sheriffs, even at a time when he is the one approving the funding that goes to the sheriff's department and results in more money going into their unions and then more money going into politics. It's not the direction that this party has voted that we would like to see things go. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is going to be Doug Case. Are you speaking in favor of the recommendation?
Yes, I am. We have seen a remarkable change on the Board of Supervisors since Nathen Flecher was elected, and especially in the last year since the election of 2 additional Democrats to the board. He has shown true leadership in a wide variety of ways, from the budget to services, you name it. He has been very progressive. He has supported democratic values, and he obviously has merited, in my opinion, a friendly incumbent endorsement.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Do I have any other speakers for this item? Judith, did you?
Judith's not a member.
Yes, thank you very much. Any other members that wanted to speak? Okie dokie. All right, so we're gonna hold a vote then. And I don't know how I'm gonna do this.
Can you do a poll?
No, because it's not built out already. So, this doesn't have to be a secret ballot. So those who want to vote for friendly incumbent endorsement of Nathen Flecher, raise your hand.
I don't know how to raise my hand.
Okay.
Can I just say yes? I'm in support of that. Okay.
Yeah, both of you guys?
Yes.
Okay, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 votes. Anyone else wish to vote?
I think David's hand was raised, wasn't it, David? You got 1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6. So I have 6 for to continue this friendly incumbent endorsement. All those that are opposed to the friendly incumbent endorsement, please vote now. Oh, actually, yes, thank you very much. Jan, you raised your hand twice. Are you voting against or for the endorsement?
I thought I was lowering my hand, but I'm not.
Okay. What was your vote?
Was for endorsement.
Okay. And so I have 1 against and 6 for. That does pass the threshold still. Anyone, again, last call for people that want to oppose this endorsement. Can't we do? Yes, I've gotten those 2 votes. Thank you very much. Those that are in the chat. I was able to get those. Kentley, are you abstaining?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so the motion does pass that we are going to continue with the friendly incumbent endorsement of Nathen Flecher. So he is now endorsed by the club. Those 2 races, I should note, are not considered important or strategically critical. So we can hear a motion to place one of them strategically critical, although the board has decided not to leave those as strategically critical because they are likely to win another term regardless. So with that said, I'm going to go over to our next thing, is the chartering of the club. We're doing a lot of votes today. So in our bylaws, we don't have a mechanism where we automatically charter with the club or with the county party. So I do have to take a vote. And then what we're going to do is we're going to include in the bylaws automatic chartering of the club for next year on. But for this upcoming year, do I hear a motion to charter the club again?
So move.
Wonderful. And do I have a second?
Second.
Wonderful. Any discussion? Any discussion? Wonderful. All right. Well, thanks so much for doing that. And then we're going to go ahead and vote. If you want to charter the club again, please raise your hand if you are a member. Gotcha, David. Gotcha.
No,
Gotcha.
I can't vote. I mean, I don't know how to raise my hand, but Gary and I vote yes.
Wonderful. I appreciate you guys. I see you, David. See you, Amar. Appreciate you guys. And it looks like it's by unanimous consent that we are going to recharter the club for the next year. And this is quite a feat, guys, because the club has went through many transitions over the last couple years, from our former president, David, really taking charge and forming and allowing the club to grow. And with this year, we've had a lot of challenges. So there's a lot of times in the past where the club did not think it was going to get through to another year. So I appreciate you guys for continuing to support this club, to continuing to get engaged with the party. And so thank you so much again. We're going to move quickly over to the next thing, which is simply informational. I just want to let you guys know that we're going to be opening up two committees. So each committee, one is for fundraising. We direly need to continue fundraising for the club, because of course we're endorsing, and the more endorsements we make, we want to continue this political power. And so we are going to be forming a fundraising committee and a bylaw committee. So the bylaw committees is for the next few months. We're going to be proposing new bylaw amendments. And then at our next election in March is when we will ratify those, or when we will vote to either put in place those bylaw recommendations or not. I have put in place the bylaws in the website. So if you want to see the bylaws, they are in the website. We do need help with this initiative because our bylaws are pretty outdated. The last time we updated them was in 2019, which was practically 2 years ago now. So we do need to revise them and make sure that we have some input there. So I have, this is discussional items, so anyone can speak, but I do see a couple of hands raised. Jan Woodward, did you?
No, that was just from before.
Okay. Doug? Doug, did you have a?
I'm sorry, I forgot to lower my hand as well.
Okay, what about you, Lori? Lori Saldana?
Same, sorry, I'm distracted.
No problem, no problem. All right, so if you are interested in getting involved, it's not an obligation, it's just kind of a consultation with the club on what you guys recommend to be best fundraising sources or best bylaw recommendations. These are really important because we need to continue to build the club. I'm still even considering running for re-election. So if you're interested in running for president, please let me know. I'm happy to turn over the reins to another leader in our community. But start thinking about what you guys want to do in the club and how we want to use this political power that we're building to further the club and the party's ideals. So we want to make sure that this club is continuing throughout the next couple of years. I've heard so many people tell me how important it is to have a downtown club and representation for downtown Democrats. So we've made a lot of work. We're going to continue the work. But I'm in dire need of your help and consultation for best fundraising circumstances, best bylaw recommendations. There's a lot to be discussed, and so over the next couple months, we're going to be discussing these issues because they are at the core of maintaining this club and making sure that we survive another year. So, and I want to thank all you guys for getting involved as much as you can. Right now we have a wonderful board, and they're just amazing. We've been able to do so much with Jan, with Susie, even our past president, David Priver, has been so helpful. And then I do got to give a shout out to Lori Saldana, who's been an incredible help with the formation of the club, as well as Mar Ameza, who's been stepping up in our community and has really put forth the political power that we need to continue. So. All right, so with that said, I'm going to go over to the next item, which is simply elected official reports. And Doug, I'm told that you wanted to give a report for Tony Atkins.
Yes, thank you. I'm Doug Case, and I am the Political Affairs Director for Senate President Pro Tem Tony Atkins. She was at the club just a short while ago. Was it last month?
Last month.
And so I don't want to repeat a legislative summary. What I thought we'd do instead is, since Thursday is Veterans Day, talk a little bit about what the legislature was able to do for veterans in the past session. They allocated a $5.4 million in County Veteran Service Office to connect the veterans to the resources they need. $75 million allocation to the California Veterans Housing and Homelessness Prevention Program to build affordable housing for veterans. This is a direct result of the Veterans Housing Bond that the voters passed in 2014. $25 million in competitive grant programs that is meant to help veterans struggling with chronic homelessness and mental illness. $10 million in the budget to benefit veteran resource centers in the California Community College system to help California veterans pursue higher education and to support them throughout that process with counseling. And then passage of SB 661, which was authored by Josh Newman, to help veterans with home loans through CalVet to refinance their homes and take advantage of historically low interest rates. And so that's just some of the things that were accomplished for veterans in the last session. And the Pro Tem also noted that in the Senate, they now have a record high number of 7 members in their Veterans Caucus, including 3 women. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that report. Before we move forward, I'm actually going to move public comment to the top because I know some people got to get going. So if that's okay with everyone, I'm going to move public comment up next. So unless there's any objections, I'm going to allow the candidates and public to start raising their hands for those that wanted to speak. I see Lori Saldana.
Thank you. I just want to make sure people are aware that Barbara Bree is running for county assessor. And when we talk about making change at the county level, it requires the funding. And the county assessor is under the State Board of Equalization, and that is the agency that manages assessments of property. Oops, that feedback?
Just a little bit.
So Barbara Bree has done some polling on this issue. She has some very good results, very encouraging results. This is the first election cycle where the county candidates are required to go to a runoff. In the past, if you had more than 50% in the primary, you could avoid a runoff election. So the polling looks like Barbara will do very well against the person who's running. The incumbent is not intending to run from all accounts available. So it's an opportunity to add another Democrat to a countywide position, or I should say to add the first Democrat to a countywide position, because everyone else currently at the countywide offices are Republicans. So I think this needs to be a priority campaign, and I'm very happy that Barbara has taken this on, and I want to encourage people to learn more about Board of Equalization and the Assessor's Office and what a difference having funding for programs and services can make in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have next Commissioner Tommy Howe.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate it. Very nice to see everyone tonight, and I apologize for jumping in and out of the meeting, but appreciated the discussion. San Diego County Planning Commissioner Tommy Howe, running for San Diego City Council. in District 6. And, you've heard me speak before about a lot of the infrastructure issues that we have in District 6 and how we really suffer from a great deal of deferred maintenance in so many of our core communities, especially Kearney Mesa and Mira Mesa. Also, as a county planning commissioner, smart growth is really an imperative concern for me. And as we add greater amounts of densification, certainly in Mira Mesa and Kearney Mesa, we have some opportunities to really retrofit a lot of these hard-edged suburban spaces so they're a little more safer, more friendly for neighbors that are welcoming into the community to get out of their cars and walk and to ride their bicycles. But we also want to make sure we're doing some smart growth to make sure that we're not putting a lot more cars on the road with all of the new units that we are expecting to see come into the communities over the next several years. The other thing I would just say is that we've seen a lot of really bad behavior on the part of our Republican friends, storming into school board meetings, doing sit-ins, basically squatting and taking all kinds of liberties with a lot of basic rights and saying that they're actually elected officials and that others are not elected officials. We've seen the horrible behavior among many at the Board of Supervisors meetings. That has to stop. But what I think is important for voters to ask themselves and to ensure that they are asking candidates and vetting candidates on is, what will you do to stand up against the anti-democratic tides and forces that are in this country now, that led to events like January 6th, and that persist with this vile lie that somehow if my candidate loses, somehow there's something nefarious going on. Democratic candidates and office holders are going to have to be answering for that and being the firewall and providing truth on these concerns as we move forward. So I hope that you'll consider keeping that in mind, again, when you vet the different Democratic candidates. Last thing I'll say, not to eat up too much time, Danny, is that the real tragedy of especially Mira Mesa, really with our council candidates and council representatives has been they're just often co-opted by a lot of the downtown lobbyists, the downtown developers, the downtown special interests. And that really manifests itself in how we see a lot of deferred maintenance in our communities. And we really see a lot of folks like Chris Kate, like Lori Zapp, like Carl DeMaio, who have represented these communities, but haven't really put our granular priorities first. That's going to change with me. That's why the slogan is Neighborhoods First for our San Diego District 6 campaign. We're endorsed by Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer. There's more information at tommyhowe.com. Running for San Diego City Council District 6 in the heart of San Diego. I'll include my information in the chat. Thank you, as always, for the opportunity to speak, Danny. It's great seeing everyone tonight.
Wonderful to see you, Tommy. Thank you for that. And I have next candidate Kent Lee.
Evening, everyone. My name is Kent Lee. I had a chance to visit with some of you last month. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm carrying my 1-year-old at the moment, who was in a crying fit not long ago. But my name is Kent Lee. I'm a Democrat running for San Diego City Council in District 6 in order to support a more compassionate, more inclusive, stronger San Diego. I'm running as a member of the Mira Mesa community. Have served for over 8 years here on the community planning group. Have helped to plan community functions and events, supporting different volunteer efforts throughout all of District 6 over the years, and really in this race, in part because of the calling from members of the community. Just to keep it short, I've just been excited to share some updates recently, including endorsements from fellow City Council members Monica Montgomery Step, as well as Shanilo Rivera. I'm supported by County Supervisor Nora Vargas, and really looking at how to bring a lens of equity when it comes to discussions as the city has the opportunity to impact, specifically in District 6. Would look forward to having conversations with more of you. I know it's challenging over Zoom to connect, but I will leave some information in the chat and just welcome anyone to reach out if you'd like to learn more about me and my campaign. So again, my name is Kent Lee, running for San Diego City Council in District 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Kent Lee. And just so that everyone knows, we are going to be meeting in person next month. We were able to do this online because of the scheduling. There's another club that does this, that has a debate for sheriff as well. So we had to accommodate for the candidates. Okay, well then, if that's all, I'm going to just give a small report and then we can take off.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, of course.
Oh, hi, this is Judy Walters. I'm a former member and I just have to update my my payment there. And I just wanted to thank the club for. I've been with the club for a long time. I've been an officer, so I know what it entails in running a club. And I wanted you to know that I support everything you're doing, and I'm very grateful for the job you've done tonight. And thank you for doing the debate with both sheriffs, because Dave is ex-sheriff, so I still consider him a sheriff. And thanks for the endorsement of Dave and Monica and Nathan. And I'll pay my dues. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Yes, Judith. We missed you as a member here. And thank you so much. It's not without the support of everyone here that we'd be doing this. So thanks again. And giving that small update, redistricting is on everyone's mind right now. So as the club president, I've been kind of keeping track of the redistricting and what downtown could possibly look like. There are a lot of proposals happening, and as far as county, it looks like we're going to be safe, but there is a proposal that separates the port from our district. It does look like the district might be a different number, but these are all still in talks. These are all still transitioning and have to get voted on still. As far as city goes, there is one proposal that takes downtown out of District 3 completely, or if not partially. So I'm keeping an eye on that one because we could end up with being D2 potentially. So there's just a lot of different ones that we're keeping an eye on, and I will keep you apprised as we vote on them, as the commissioners vote on them, and as I get more information as well. With that said, the Central Committee last month they I lost my report here. There's not much to discuss when it comes to the Central Committee. We are going to be having a pre-endorsement conference sometime soon, in the next couple months, I believe. I have to double check on that. But if you are looking to be an associate or represent the club at the state level, I am already representing the club at the county level. So we do need someone to represent the club at the state level. So if you're interested, please reach out to us through our website, because we do need someone to represent us at the pre-endorsement conferences. Right now we have 40 members, so we potentially have space for two associate or representatives to the state party. But if you're interested, please let me know. I don't want to end up going all the way to our conference. I'm also in school, so I can't take on too much, but I appreciate you guys for understanding that. With that said, Council of Clubs, there's not much to report. We went over kind of rules and regulations when conducting meetings like this. Not really much to report. Caucuses, last month, I believe we went over a couple of considerations for strategically critical. Not much there to really relate. I don't remember who we endorsed. There was an endorsement. Does anyone remember that was at the Metro West who we endorsed? Or was there an endorsement there? And Tommy, weren't you there? No.
I was probably there, but I don't recall the specifics. I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay. No, I could get you guys a smaller report of the Central Committee and the caucus sometime soon. But with that said, I don't have much else to report. Jan, our treasurer, our new treasurer, our wonderful treasurer, do you have anything to report?
Nothing new since the last meeting. But while I'm speaking, I would like to just say that what a wonderful job Danny did in conducting this meeting and organizing it and arranging it. So I really appreciate it. And I think everybody else does too. I hope they do.
I appreciate you, Jan. Thanks again. Okay, Susie, our other board member, do you have anything to report? I think Susie took off already, actually. Yep. Yeah, she took off. So with that said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this wonderful meeting.
So moved.
All right. Do I have a second? And I have a second by Mar Mesa, our other board member. Thank you guys so much for being here today. As we continue this club, we're going to have more fundraisers, social activities. We're going to be partnering up with hotels sometime soon to do some really cool events. So stay tuned. I appreciate you guys all. And I do have to say, because we are kicking off the endorsement season, if you have money to spare for the club, please, please, please donate as much as you can during this election season, because we want to make sure that we're building that political power and that we have a say in this area. So if you can, please donate. It's on our website. You can always donate there. But with that said, thank you guys so much. You guys have a wonderful night and get some rest.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.